Hi, Oliver and Mark. You're both absolute titans of the techno scene, widely celebrated for pushing the boundaries of electronic music with your cutting edge productions. Beyond the music, you've also shaped the scene as custodians of two iconic labels, Oliver with Senso Sounds and Mark with Systematic Recordings, both of which have been platforms for forward-thinking techno. Welcome to the House Culture Podcast today, guys.
Hello, nice to be here.
You're most welcome, guys. Okay, so this year is 2024. You've joined forces on a couple of standout collaborations. But before we dive into those tracks specifically, can you tell us how you guys first met each other? I don't know who wants to go first, Mark or Oliver.
Yeah, I think Oliver should start because the first impulse came from him.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's been like, was it in the 90s? I think it was like almost 30 years ago. And if I remember right, I was sending a demo to Marc for Le Petit Prince, right? So it's been a while, and yeah, we got connected very quickly, and back then, so we were working a lot together with several projects, ideas, and everything. So that's how it started. I don't know the actual year, but was somewhere in the 90s.
Yes, I remember even the year. It was 1994. It's funny enough, exactly 30 years ago.
Wow.
And it was a tape under the project name Kaunos, this Turkish place. And I think, Oliver, you spent your holidays there before you made the track with
It's true,
Stefan, right?
Yeah. Like that was my first Turkish, my first holidays in my vacation to Turkey, and I liked it so much because there's this beautiful place and with warm waters and and I used this as an inspiration for a new project together with Stefan Bonzin.
Amazing. And Mark, what was your impression of getting this tape? Did you think this was a guy that you wanted to work with?
Let's rewind a little bit. I mean, we made the label Le Petit Prince. We were just about to start. The label was 1 year old and already pretty hyped by several magazines like Groove and Waveline, a very relevant magazine back in the days. And at this time, I think we just released Turkish Bazaar by Emanuel Top. That was the catalog number before Oliver's and Stefan's tune. And yeah, it was a very, very exciting time because it was exactly the point of time when demo tapes began to rush in. And of course, most of the music was crap, and we were pretty excited that somebody from Bremen, they used to live in Bremen at this time, was sending us something we really loved. And I mean, imagine this. I mean, Oliver, I don't get it. It's 30 years ago. I mean, how is this possible?
Yeah. I have no idea. This, wow, 30 years exactly now.
Yeah, the start of something wonderful.
Yeah, it is very emotional. I mean, what a ride the past 30 years, 35 years, and from the beginning of electronic music, or almost beginning, but the beginning of techno, and yes. Amazing ride, and we're still here. So I could never imagine, and I'm pretty sure none of our colleagues, not even Karl Cox, Sven Wade, or Dick Reed, they could never expect like 30 years later we're still on a slice.
Yeah,
amazing.
It is incredible.
I could not imagine having another job, a better job, or I'm very thankful about this.
Yeah, and that's a common theme. We speak to obviously a lot of DJs, producers on this show, and there's a very common theme when we roll back the years. How did you first get involved with the scene? You know, did you think that, that a lot of people are like, well, I just thought I'd be doing it for a couple of years. It's just something that I loved. There was no real grand plan, and and here you are, 30 years later, guys.
Yeah, and exactly 30 years later, we released our first 2 tracks together. That's
Yes,
another.
exactly. But so many people thought we already had produced together, but was not like was this year was at the time 30 years later.
Yeah. So, I mean, I didn't want to step on that because in my mind, as far as I was concerned, this is the first time you've kind of released something together. But I'm glad you've kind of confirmed that in a way. So why now? What was the inspiration that finally pulled you guys together to get into the studio?
Mark?
Why now? Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, we worked together in a very close way between 94 and something like 2003, 2004, with several different projects on other labels than Liberty Bronze. It was a very intense time, and I would rather call it our melodic times before something very spectacular happened in the time around 2004, 2005, because a group of people who knew each other switched from rather more melodic music to club and underground music again. And this group were people like Oliver, like me, like Stefan, but also like the Booker Shade guys. We also know very well since a very long time, and a few others. And yeah, we all walked the same path. We all came from rather commercial music. I mean, Booker Shade, they even produced top 10 projects in Germany and UK. Us too, but they really made commercial stuff big time. And at this time, it made click with all of us. All of us, I mean, Oliver, please add something to my thoughts. All of us came to this point where we said, at the moment, the commercial music is really tiring, and it's time to go back to the roots and to make music straight from the bottoms of our hearts, without any thought about, I want to enter the chart list or something.
Yeah, actually, I was taking 1 year off during that time. So I was, everything got so commercial also, and I lost my path, like completely, and I was not happy anymore, and so I stopped that project at that time and stopped playing, and had to reinvent myself, and in the end, so it came out with H-Man. On Giant Wheel, so that was a new sound. More, I used to be a b-boy, a breakdancer, and this was more like the beginning of the new electro back then. And soon later, I sent a demo to DJ Hell, Gigolo Records, and just with my telephone number. With a brand, telephone number, just a CD, just my telephone number. And I remember, so I was in Hamburg, like just for a couple of days, visiting the city, and then a call came in. I was just walking, and it was DJ Hell, and he said, "I like your track so much. Who the fuck are you?" And I told him, "I'm Oliver Huntemann. We knew each other." And he said, "It's you? Okay." And then from there, like I found it back, and since then I knew what I want, and that was crazy. But I remember, I get goosebumps when I remember this moment when Hell called me and said, "That's it." I was so proud, because I mean, Gigolo at that time was like the label, and Hell was the best A&R in the world. To me at that time was amazing. All these hits, Miss Kitten, Hacker, and Vitalik, all this stuff was a very intense time again.
Yeah, absolutely. So
true, very true.
Yeah. So taking that journey to kind of now, you know, and you collaborating this year. Obviously, you've just released your single. Forgive my German pronunciation, but it's Schwarze Witwe. Is that
Not too bad.
okay? It's Black Widow is my understanding.
It's right, yes.
But before we talk about that one, there was I'm going to do even worse on this one. Teufelsfisch.
Teufelsfisch.
Teufelsfisch earlier this year. So tell us about coming together in the studio. Where was it located? Were you in there together? You know, was there a preference in terms of where you were working? Kind of what happened that day, bringing Teufelsfisch together? You're laughing at me.
No, sorry. So many people laughed already about my English, so don't worry. Now the story is pretty easy. Oliver and I, we just made an appointment in my studio, beginning of the year, in order to just make a jam session and just have fun with the machines in the studio without any pressure, without any special expectations, because we are both established artists, and there was rather this aspect about let's join in the studio and have some fun. Okay, boom. And so we made a few jam sessions where we just twiddled the knobs of the machines and just thought, okay, let's see what's the result. And I remember this day pretty well because it snowed a lot. It was beginning of this year in 2024. When I brought Oliver back to the station, we drove
crazy.
15 miles an hour max because the streets were full of snow. And we made a few sessions in my studio where we just had fun with the machines. And from my point of view, it's the best you can do anyway when there's no pressure and just fun. Of course, I knew and appreciated Oliver's knowledge about electronic music already for a long time. I remember also 30 years ago that he was already a very, very really good vinyl DJ, by the way, to give you some flowers. And I knew that it was a good plan to jam together. And one more sentence before Oliver can take over. What I remember is that everything went very swiftly. Usually when you're in a studio, you cannot really predict if something, let's say, rolls instantly, or if you need some time to find a common ground. I'm still a little astonished, Oliver, by the way, but it means that we are on the same frequency.
Yeah.
It went like this, like boom, here we go.
Yeah, exactly. I see the same. So Marc invited me, and I think it was in December we were talking about it. And we lost touch a little bit for a couple of years, and it came back. Marc was more often in Hamburg. We saw each other, and then he just asked, should we do a jam session? And it was only 2 days, not even 2 full days. And I remember I came in the studio and I immediately felt like very comfortable. It was warm. It was like nice gear, everything. And we started just with some sequencing lines, and it was really like this very fast. And that was the basic of to finish it then later on. So we didn't finish it within these 2 days, but we found a very good bass, and then 2-3 times back and forth, and then that's it. So it was pretty easy, and I think it still has this live effect which you get very rarely these days, like with muting channels and just turning the buttons, knobs, and everything. It was like going a little bit back in the past, because nowadays it's it's different work, but it was good to go back to basics. It's always good, like also to reduce yourself and not like more and more. And maybe it was not like the thing like the super zeitgeist, which is in all these charts, which everything sounds very similar to me and was something different. And for this, it was very successful, and that made me also very happy that things can work beside like this. I say, don't know, TikTok techno focus.
Yeah, and very interesting about, getting into a studio and actually physically turning things and, like doing things in that live sense. When you were in there together, did you recognize in each other that one's more specialism in one thing that was you were bringing to the track?
Yeah, there is something I recognized. First of all, I recognized a certain, what we call in German, Spielfreude when it comes to Oliver. Spielfreude is when you're really keen to twiddle the knobs and to work with the machines and to explore new worlds of sounds. That's something I really recognized. So he was very eager to explore something new. And another thing I found very impressive, Oliver, I don't know if I mentioned this back in the days, Oliver is very safe with his opinion, more than me, by the way. I have to be honest. Sometimes I'm also doubting, and sometimes I need time. So when I'm producing music on my own, I need sometimes time, even sometimes months. But I recognized that Oliver instantly said, "This is good. This is a good idea. This is not good." Honestly, I was really impressed by this, Oliver.
Yeah, I don't know. What shall I say? I think I have a feeling like for lines and which are, don't know. They have to have, they're not too many melodies and to have a certain coolness, but also uncomplicated. Like it has to flow and not like thinking is not music is not mathematics, not for me. And I just take a feeling like I did as a teenager when I started DJing when I was like 12 or 13, and no one was interested in DJs. But I had always like this. I don't know. I'm closing my eyes when I think about it because it's like this. Then I just take the sound. Sometimes in the studio, I just close my eyes and then I know this, not this, yes, and yeah. So I think I have a good overview.
Yes, yeah, and so picturing it in your mind's eye. I mean, when you obviously premiered, I saw on your Instagram, Schwarze Witwe. I'm probably still saying that incorrectly.
No, it's perfect.
A massive gig that you guys did when you're playing back to back in Warsaw. Just rolling it back from there. Do you guys, when you're producing new material, do you get it out there in front of an audience as it's a work in progress, like road testing it, or are you very protective of it and you don't let it be heard by an audience until it's perfect?
For myself, so I see myself first as a DJ, and then as a producer. I use this as a tool to play, and I love the time when I can road test the things. Mostly they're ready enough. It's just little things to change, mix down, compression. But mostly I'm pretty safe also when I play the things that it's, for me, good enough. This is the most important thing. I have to like it, and then I see the people. It gets also to the people, so the connection works. And I love the time. I always hate the day of release because it's not only mine anymore. It's, it's also on my label, so the new tracks is like, oh no, it's more or less only me and maybe the other artist, but it's so much. It gives me so much. This 6 months, and then it's disappointing. Now it's out for everyone.
Marc, how do you work? You in a similar vein?
Yeah, first of all, let's mention our partner Andre Winter, who finalized both tracks with Oliver in Hamburg. So also an amazing producer and friend of us, also an artist on Senso Sounds on Oliver's label, who's releasing fantastic stuff. He added his knowledge and his skills to both tracks. Very appreciating this. So yeah, good question. I don't know if I have something like a pattern. I don't know. It's I think it's always different, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, but when it comes to both tracks, I instantly felt that they were something special and that they were working perfectly on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I'm a big fan of exciting collaborations. Maybe the listeners know that I also collaborated with, let's say, King or Rodriguez Jr., and it always gave me something, like with Oliver, because you always learn from your sparrings partner, and somehow I knew that it would work out perfectly.
Excellent. Good ears.
Sorry.
Good ears. That's good to know. I mean, it's good to have that confidence as well. In terms of the releases of the two tracks as well, you alternated one. Schwarze Witwe is on Systematic Recordings label, and I'm going to call it the English, the Teufelsfisch, was on Senso Sounds earlier this year. Was that a conscious decision to kind of share the love between the two of you, or was it purely, did one have a sound that fitted more with the label? How did the release work for you across those labels? Or did you just say,
okay,
I'm going to put this one out?
No, it was just like we took the decision to bring the first on Senso. Just I had a slot, and that was the fastest away, and then we said, and the next one is on Marc's label, but it's not like we produced sound-wise for Senso or for Systematic. It fits anyways.
Right, yeah.
That was clear.
Reading way too much into that, obviously.
It's our decision, so we can do whatever we want. It's our
Absolutely. And those labels, they celebrated, some anniversaries this year. Obviously, Senso is 10 and Systematic is 20. In terms of having, you've maybe just answered that question in that way. You can do whatever you want. They're your own labels, right? How important is it to have that outlet for you guys that is your own label?
For me, it was always like when I founded my first label, Confused Recordings, in 1995.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, it was always important to me. I don't know. It's like I can do what I want, and I don't have to send out demos and don't know waiting or not. And it was just the natural way to do this, and so I could not imagine not releasing on my label.
Mm-hmm.
I can, of course, like with Marc, or maybe doing something special for another label, but I didn't do this in a long time. So I'm happy with mine, and I like my label, and so I stand behind it. I know artists, they run a label, but I don't know if they don't like it, the label, or if it's doesn't have enough impact. So, and they're releasing somewhere else, but then I don't need to make a label, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It belongs to me. It's also my face.
And in terms of that, discovering talent and listening to demos and things like that, I'd imagine, Marc, as well, you probably get 100 times more demos these days than you did when Oliver sent you that tape all those years ago. How do you guys like?
It was already horrible.
I mean, how do you filter what's coming into you and discovering that talent? Is it really hard to because there's so much music being released all the time, so many people making music. Is the filter really hard these days, or do you just know instinctively what's going to be good or not when you first hear it?
Yeah, I mean, there's really a lot of music coming in, and then you get also these demos like from deep house up to hard techno, so trance in between, and it almost doesn't make sense to listen to it because it doesn't have like an identity. People are just following trends, and we're listening to the stuff, but it's a lot, and mostly in the end it comes back like having things from my artists which already exist or friends and from this circle. But sometimes I pick also other demos. For example, as next year is coming out Neither Nor. It's two guys from Izmir, from Turkey, and they had already one track on one of my level series. Is like 3 or 4 different artists on one release, and I found them like they were just sending me a demo. But this is really, it's very rare, and mostly it's not finished. People, they're not self-critics enough, in my opinion. So sometimes it's worth to wait or to work on, but I also don't want to take their hopes. No? It's like, yeah, send it over, we're listening, and that's what we do. But we cannot answer like to everyone. It's not possible. Yeah. So it's to be honest, it's hard work.
Yeah. Mark was just shaking his head
And
there as well.
It's tons of hours.
Is that your experience as well, Mark?
Yeah, the filter generates itself because there are lots of copy-paste email messages as well, where people address you with wrong names, or where you see that it's copy-pasted, or where people even put 100 email addresses into the address field. So, I mean, these messages filter themselves away anyway.
Yeah.
And I still think that a label is very important as a filter before it comes out. So labels will stay for sure. They also stay for an image or for a musical taste or a musical area of the A&R managers. But it's a very interesting topic. I mean, I'm currently directing an experiment with my friend Robert Babic, a colleague of us. It's called Marotopia. It's a label where we kind of offer talented artists to support them during the production of the piece. Let's see where it goes. It's an experiment at the moment. We are releasing the first track from an uprising artist, December the 20th. The artist is called Face Tone. A guy who sent us a rough demo where we said, okay, this is a good idea, so let's finalize it together with him. Yeah, let's see. I mean, of course, we don't have the time to do this, let's say, 20 times a year, but I like the idea to listen to demos where you see a great idea and where you think, okay, let's help the person to finish it. Let's see. It's an experiment.
Yeah. Well, excited to hear what comes out of that. Yeah, so coming soon, we'll definitely tune in. So, in terms of taking you guys out of the studio and putting you in the live environment, DJing when you're playing festivals and gigs and the things that you guys do when you're flying around the world, you've obviously played back to back recently as well. How has that been for you? Is that been the first time that you guys have played back to back as well during this year? How has that been, and how have you found that? Do you have an arrangement, an agreement in advance, like maybe I want to play this? How does it work?
A pre-recorded set.
No, the funny thing is, we just did it.
Yeah.
So we just did it, and maybe it's because we know each other for such a long time. I mean, I find it quite refreshing from time to time, because you always explore new music. When you play on your own, you can't explore new music somehow.
Yeah.
Okay, you can play randomly something you have just downloaded or purchased, but you know what I mean, right? So, and when we played together, there were 2-3 moments where I thought, okay, what is this? So this is a nice experience, as well as the matter of fact that when the other person plays, the ship goes in a slightly different direction. And you always think, okay, what can I play next in order to match the way your partner is currently going? And I like that. I couldn't do this every weekend, but I like the twist of such a common show. What about you, Oliver?
I still the same, and I don't do so many back to backs. I did it a few times with Stefan, and recently also with Victor Ruiz, and with Marc, and sometimes with Andre Winter, but very rarely. Really, it doesn't happen very often. Twice a year, maybe. And because I like my own movie, but also Marc is right. Like there's coming some challenges which you don't have when you play alone. It's like, okay, is this the direction I want? And you see very quickly also, are you playing against each other or with each other? But I mean, with Marc and me was clear there is not big clashes because all our career, so we had the same vibe, the same waveform, and or at least similar, so that I didn't see any problem. It was like this, so that was very, very smooth. And then this thinking, okay, what can I add now to make this thing running, getting higher, coming down, and bring also surprises to the crowd. It worked very, very well. I like this.
Yeah, very, very diplomatically put as well, because we're all in the same virtual room together. In terms of that back-to-back set as well, or just generally when you play back-to-back, like what kind of length was it? What length of set works when it's back-to-back? Because there's been, a lot of people on line and on socials recently, like promoting a discussion around, an hours long back-to-back set is probably nowhere near enough, really, is it? It's not even worth it. So, where do you guys stand on that in terms of working together on a back-to-back set? What is the perfect set length when you're doing something like that?
Depends on the location, for sure.
I mean, sometimes 1 hour can be so long, and sometimes 5 hours are very short. And that's so. And how long were we playing? I think 2 hours, and I think this is a good time. This is a good average time. Less is, I don't know. I don't feel it, and so for the first times that was, I think, more or less perfect. No, what do you think, Marc?
Yeah, I think it was 3 hours as far as I remember, but I think it really depends on the location. I can imagine locations like Fabric or Rex where we could easily play 5 hours, and where we would want to play 5 hours. I'm pretty sure the day will come. These clubs are, like an aquarium for the two Teufelsfisches. So, nice picture, I know. Funny enough, there was a club called Aquarium in London where I played like 20 years ago. You remember this one?
Yeah, I know it well.
It just pops into my mind. The Aquarium. Oliver, you remember this club in London?
I remember this club, yes. Yeah, now that you say it, it's true.
Nice picture. Yeah, anyway, so the two Teufelsfishes need the right aquarium, and then we play. We are there for 5 hours.
Swimming
around. Yeah, I like the image. And you talk about these different locations and whatever. What is your preference? It feels to me, that a club environment is often the preference for a DJ compared to a large open air festival or something like that. That obviously there's different environments. You've got to deliver different things based on the audience that's close to you or far away from you. What is your kind of preference in terms of location? If someone said you got to play a gig tomorrow, it can be whatever you want. What would you say? Where would you pick?
To me is I like both. I like big stages, but I come from the club, so I grew up in the club, and big stages is sometimes so far away from the people, and you see only masses, but so you don't see the party so much. And I'm pretty shy, and so I have to tune in first, and then it is a little bit more difficult to me to just like this, and so but when it works, I like also the big stages very much, but. For longer sets, definitely, and I like to play 5, 6, 7 hours. Is still no problem. No, at Watergate, I was also doing all night long sets, and this is like so you can play different music. You can start like very deep, very slow, and then you build it up, and then you put it down back again. And this is it's a totally different. Job description, I would say, but both is like interesting and intense.
Yeah. Marc, take it away.
Yeah, what I'm actually missing, I mean, clubs are becoming less and less, which is quite sad these days. What I'm missing, it should be more on my agenda, is these club gigs in a real underground place where it's getting really hot and very humid inside, very tight. You are there with, let's say, 200-300 people, but everybody's very close. You can really feel the humidity, and at some point of time, everybody is becoming one, and everybody is rhythmically moving the same way. I remember a show I played. It wasn't a spectacular venue like I don't know, let's say Womp Tokyo or Fabric London. It was in a German town called Kassel, and the club is not existing anymore. It was called ARM, and it was in the basement of a wine cellar, very close to the main station in Kassel. Oliver, you remember this club? Have you been there?
No, I only know
ARM?
No.
I mean, it's already, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago. I played an after hour there. It was 8 in the morning. I slept a little bit before I went to this venue, and I didn't know what was expecting me, but the show just pops into my mind. So I entered this place. It was tight. The people they really wanted it. And Kassel has a very particular history because an extremely iconic club called Stammheim. Oliver, I think you were also there, right?
Yeah,
Back
I
in
did
the
also
days,
on the mix
right?
CD for the guys. Yeah, that was legendary. Everyone was playing there in this little city, and I played my longest set there. Like I think it was 14
Yeah,
hours.
you see,
Yeah.
it's a particular town. I mean, I don't know how it's vibing these days, but back in these days, I think the Stammheim vibe was still there. And I remember, I remember that the 4 hours set went like this, and I also remember a moment where I played LFO with LFO.
Wow. Yeah.
And people began to cry, so I began.
Wow.
So, I mean, and I'm missing a little bit these moments. They are becoming more and more rare.
Yeah.
Nowadays is when I can jump in is even also in smaller clubs is more like a concert. It's not like the people are for themselves dancing, even though this is different. So and even though they have in Berlin, so there's no photo policy, but people are like focused on the DJ. And in the beginning was not like this.
Yeah.
I remember a club here in Hamburg, Front, end of 80s, and the DJ was Boris Dlugosch and one other guy, and they were behind a glass or a mirrored glass, so no one could see them.
Yeah.
And everyone was dancing. Super DJs, really like high class, but you cannot do this anymore. You can be on stage with masks. This is possible, but not in another room. And I also like this back in the days, but it's things are changing. It would be also boring if not, because I think, I mean, electronic music, dance music, techno, we have it like 30, more than 30 years, 35, and it's still there.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is more punk than punk, in my opinion. So we have this wide range, and still is like the grown-ups don't get it. So in the authorities, we still have the same problems like 20 years, 25 years ago with everything. And so we're still working, we're fighting for this. And I like this. And then, okay, it's changing. Now it's more like a concert, people expecting. So some more show, more visuals, but so what? Why not?
Well, indeed. And yeah, I love that summation, more punk than punk. It's, especially some of the conversations we've had here about, because the whole, like rave scene, warehouse scene in the UK, especially, it had a real punk kind of vibe to it in terms of people just doing it for themselves, using equipment that they weren't trained on, to make noises that sounded interesting to them. And it's very much got that punk, aesthetic to it, this whole scene. I mean, let's kind of wind it back then to your early careers and where you grew up.
I grew up in a little city in the north of Germany, Oldenburg. It's like 60 kilometers from Bremen. It's all in north of Germany, but I moved slowly from the little city to the medium city Bremen, and then Hamburg to the second biggest city in Germany. And I'm very happy here, so I don't need to go to live in Berlin. And I saw too many artists like not getting into work because they think they have to socialize on every party and getting wasted like 5 days a week. And so I'm very happy here. And I had also my first DJ job was in Oldenburg, and I still in our studio we have like Hatzler is also on artist on my label, and we went to school together. So we were best friends back then, and we started buying records. So I had 10, 12 inches, and he had 12. So we were battling, we were exchanging this. We took it to school, and I still remember this, and we are still connected. So he's in our studio here in Hamburg, and we have a big scene from Oldenburg in Hamburg. Also, Andre is from Oldenburg, so we know each other also for a long time. Marc, I know you longer, but it's almost that's amazing. Like having still these strong connections since school.
Yeah, and through music as well, like maintaining those connections. That's what drives it. So, Marc, whereabouts did you grow up, and what was your first kind of entry point into the electronic music scene, into dance music, DJing, producing?
Yeah, the first encounter with electronic music, it's easily narrated. I used to spend my weekends at my grandparents' house, and my grandma was always listening to Radio Luxembourg. And there they played Autobahn by Kraftwerk. And that was the first encounter. It was like, oh, wow, what is this? I remember that I just found out, to be honest, I remember that they also played a track called Popcorn. And the crazy thing is, I just found out, although it's an electronic track, it came out in 1969, Popcorn.
Wow.
Unbelievable. Autobahn came out in 73 or 74. Popcorn even 4 years earlier. And I remember the moment where I entered the record store with my mom. That must have been around 78, where I went to the guy and said, I'm looking for a record. And it's like, wir sind die Roboter. And he was like, here you are. So that was the 7-inch I bought. And the first encounter with electronic music scene. Yeah, it was pretty easy in our area. I mean, we had clubs in Düsseldorf, clubs in Cologne, clubs in Krefeld, Königsburg, Yokoto in Cologne, Ratzingerhof in Düsseldorf. We could go to Amsterdam, to Roxy. There was already a scene in Belgium we could go to. Dorian Gray in Frankfurt. Everything was so close, so it was so easy to club 24/7 even. I mean, we could have gone to clubs every day from Monday to Sunday. It was so easy. And yeah, so here I am.
All these years later, here you are. So, I mean, you've mentioned Kraftwerk and Autobahn there, which is a good segue, I think, into, the moment we're at in the conversation. We are going to talk about our tracks for the House Culture Perfect playlist. So just to set this up with you guys, because I know I've sprung this on you before we've started to put the mics on, but this is something that we do with all of our guests, and you guys are going to actually be episode 80 of the podcast. So all of our previous guests have added 5 tracks to this playlist, which exists on Spotify. It's called the House Culture Perfect playlist. It's absolutely massive now because of all the choices that have gone into there, and there are 5 different themes on it that we always ask our guests. And now, this is like we tell people never to think too deeply on it. A first thing that pops into your mind when we say a theme or whatever, and just give a little bit of color as to why that track popped into your mind when we mentioned the theme. And the first theme actually is a catalyst, a track that opened your ears to electronic music or dance music or house music or whatever. And Mark, that is so obviously on your behalf, Kraftwerk. Oliver, the same question to you. If you think about an electronic music track that suddenly switched your brain over into it, what would you say it was?
To me, it is, and I still have it always in my box. I'm now in my virtual box, but also I had it always like a talisman in my record box, in my real record box. And it's Africa Bambaataa and the Soul Sonic Force Planet Rock. Yes. Sometimes I drop it, and this is like, for me, like, wow. And to be honest, shame on me. Years later, I only realized, oh fuck, it's a Kraftwerk song, Trans Europe Express. So I was first with the Planet Rock thing, and then I got back to, even though I know Wir sind die Roboter because it was a hit, and when I was a boy, I remember we were playing drums and e-guitar to the song, but I was too young to know it's only computers, but I liked it so much. So with my friends, and but to me, Africa Bambaataa and the Soul Sonic Force is the track.
Yeah, awesome choice. Yeah, and I love those moments as well when you hear a track and it has sampled something, but you don't know what the original sample is, and then you go back and realize, and you're like, oh my god, and then you discover the original, and then you're like, okay, the door is open, the rabbit hole you go down, and yeah, that's where it starts. Okay, so a second theme is a floor filler, a track that no matter what, no matter where you drop it, no matter where you play it, it always does the damage. And or it could be, some guests have come at this from the opposite angle, in that a track that maybe the floor's a bit empty, or you want to change the groove or the vibe, and then you play it knowing that it's going to bring people more into what you're trying to achieve. So in those different kind of contexts, let me know which one popped into your mind.
Yeah, one track pops into my mind which always works. It's not a popular track, but it always works. And this is a Patrice Bäumel remix of Steve Reich on Decca Records. I mean, I'm pretty sure we can find it to add it to your playlist.
Yeah.
It's also not a particular Patrice Bäumel track because it works with lots of drums, a bit comparable to Plastic Man's Spastic track, but in a Steve Reich way. The track, as far as I know, never became popular, but every time I drop it, people would go mad.
That's all you need to know. So, Oliver, what were you thinking?
It was just popping up. Is I think also one of Sven Väth's favorites and all-time favorites. It's Knights of the Jaguar.
Oh,
yeah. It's like
yeah. What a track, yeah. And I've heard that played at -8 0 and +8, you know, it works at any tempo.
Yeah,
I think.
exactly.
Yeah. What a track. Okay, a sunsetter is the next theme. A track that could soundtrack a perfect sunset. You know, you're chilling on the beach, watching the sun go down. What would you like to hear, or what would you play if you were guiding people's sunset?
Aurora Borealis on FCOM or on FNAC recordings. I would say a track I could also cry to. There's one Peter Dundorf remix. I think it never came out. I played since years. It's a, let's say, update of the ultra fast original. Yeah, but this track is, oh my goodness. Was it on FNAC or FCOM, Oliver? You remember?
I think it was on FNAC before it. They changed the name. No, FCOM was after FNAC. I think was on FNAC.
Yeah, this track is wow, just wow.
Perfect. We'll dig that one out. What are you thinking, Oliver?
For me is I'm just things popping up, and so far I don't have any new tracks. I'm always like, you know, it must be something timeless, and it's "Wake Up" from Laurent Garnier. Just one, I don't know if it was his first or second single, and when I heard this for the very first time, I was like, this is so deep, and this voice, "Wake Up."
Interesting that we end up in France twice, right? Interesting.
Yeah. There you go. It's very interesting.
I just found out it came out on F Communications, Aurora Borealis, the Milky Way.
Yeah.
From 1994, exactly the time when Oliver sent his fantastic tape.
It's all circular.
Tape.
Excellent. Okay. This is the second to last theme. It's a tearjerker, and this doesn't have to be electronic music or dance music or whatever. A track that when you hear it, you know, it could stir you full of emotion and bring a tear to your eye.
Super easy. There's number one, and then there's no number two, no number three, no number five. It's numbers by, again, Kraftwerk. When I hear the track, really, it's like, woof.
Yeah.
When I hear the voices, Ichni Sanchi, it's my hair is like, it completely triggers me, this track. And even now, you could play it now, and I would like, oh my God, electrified.
Yeah. Amazing.
Although it's electronic. I mean, it has nothing analog, nothing natural, and it's the number one touching track of my life.
Yeah.
Oliver, what about you?
For me, is Portishead live. Everything from Portishead, anyways. Beth Gibbons' voice is like just, and especially the first albums, like these beats, these trippy, dirty things. And I saw them once in Berlin, and they were so surprised because all the people went crazy, and they said, we could be like, so look, we look like stars, pop stars, but we're doing just this trippy experimental stuff. And this, she really makes me cry.
Yeah,
is no joke.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I have sometimes these moments. She makes me cry. And to close this, I was playing in Watergate, Berlin. My last set, because they're closing down by the end of the year. Just Thursday, this last Thursday, from 4 till 8 in the morning. So the last, and I played as the last track was from I went on the dance floor with the people, and I got tears in my eyes.
Amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was is true. No one saw it.
For a reason.
I was like, and I have this moment sometimes.
Yeah. Well, it's good to do that, I think. Okay, so a last tune you've just played. Well, I mean, you've maybe already covered it just there, Oliver. A last tune, or you've finished your set. You're really proud of what you did. Crowd are asking for one more. Probably changes depending on the venue and the vibe and whatever. But, is there something that you sometimes fall back on? Maybe a bit of a signature, always put a cherry on top. What's the last tune for you guys?
Maybe we can close the circle here, because for me it was many times a track I did with Stefan Botzin together, that fellow who made the demo tape with Oliver back in the days, which ended up in our office. I made a track with him called Phobos, and a track I'm very proud of. And this track I played many times as the last additional track. There was even a syntapella without beats, which I sometimes even dropped instead of the original riff beats. And the track means a lot to me. And it's funny that we are talking about it now, because Stefan was Oliver's partner for Kaunos. So of course we have to mention him here in this show.
Well, there you go. Closing that circle.
I also do something like by at the end, like a little Huntemann show, like a showcase, and mostly, and I see it also from the people, so they like it so much. And this is very often my last track is Tranquilizer. So
Great.
that's like with melodies, and that's where I very often stop with.
Brilliant choice.
What is this Tranquilizer? I don't hear it in my head. What is it again?
It's one of my tracks from the album Paranoia, I guess. It was not such a big thing, but people know it. I don't know. It has.
Send it over. Send it over. I want to play it.
Well, yeah, we'll get that in a playlist, definitely. Okay, so that was the last tune, and this is the last question. This is where we always end up with our guests. This is obviously the House Culture podcast, and house music, electronic music, dance music, encompasses all many different types of genres, including, techno and everything else that we've just been discussing. When you look at the culture of the scene that we exist in, the dance music community, what does the scene represent to you as a whole? What meaning does it have to you as a movement in your life?
To me, like techno, rave, electronic music is a lifestyle. It's not only the music; it's art as well, and it's fashion. It's like losing yourself, and the whole lifestyle is. I think that's what it makes it also so successful, because it's real.
Yeah, I would add that let's call it techno house is a feeling. It's a feeling, and there's a lot of discussion about dying clubs and the matter of fact that maybe the scene is going into a wrong direction. But nevertheless, techno house is a feeling, and no matter what happens around me or around us, to me, it will always stay a central aspect of my life. No matter what happens, even if there is no club around anymore, it will always stay an extremely important factor of my life. Full stop.
Let's leave it there. The last word. Thank you so much, guys. That was absolutely brilliant. I loved it.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for having us.